Stay the fuck away, stay the fuck away. Stay the fuck away, stay the fuck away. Ow, ow, ow. Oh. Good evening, everyone. Sean Patrick here with a message. Hey, kiddies. Dancing is not only great exercise, it's fun. But make sure you stretch first and know your limits. As these incredibly difficult times continue, it's important for us all to count our blessings. Now, several years ago, when my wife moved to Toronto to help her boys get the services they need, it was clear that I had to stay here in Stratford, because this is where my support network of friends and family are. We sold our family home, and with that money, bought an Ontario cottage that required a lot of work. Well, my friends and family banded together to do this near gut job, and I now have a lovely little home that is nearly stare-free. I think of every one of you every time I look around. Virtual hugs and kisses to you all for not only improving my life greatly and showing me how much you care, but having this place is really making it a lot easier for me to deal with this pandemic. Cheers. I sure do love me some Polish beer. Wonder how much longer I'm going to be able to get that. So today's addresses really brought home the reality of this situation for many people. For me, it was largely things that were obvious. Of course, as usual, it brought a lot of stupid questions, like, today, obviously, there's been a lot of grim announcements people have had to take in, both in terms of job numbers and in terms of projections. They're getting this information as they're heading into a holiday weekend when they're being asked not to celebrate with their families. I'm just wondering how you think Canadians should react to this. Well, I'll be talking about projections in a few minutes, so I'll just address the rest of this fucking shit now. To anyone who didn't have their head buried in the sand, the fact that only just over 1 million jobs were lost in March is actually pretty fucking amazing. Just think of all the industries hit hard by this. Tourism, gone. International travel, gone. All organized sports, professional and otherwise, gone. Entertainment venues like movie theaters, clubs, arenas, stages for live shows of all kinds, convention centers, gone. Theme parks, gone. Beauty salons, gone. Bars and restaurants severely slashed, domestic travel, teachers, retail, daycare, all severely slashed. I'm certain that I've left out some industries there, and I apologize for that, but I still expected that report to be way worse. The real fact here is that we won't know what jobs are actually lost until this all blows over and we see who can go back to work and who can't. Being asked not to celebrate with family? No, Matthew, which is what I call all journalists with amazingly stupid questions now. They stopped asking a while ago. They're flat out telling you not to. In fact, Matthew, no matter how much your mom begs me, I'm not going to her house for dinner either. How do you think Canadians should react to this? By keeping their fucking heads out of the sand and doing what's necessary. Follow the guidelines. Again, the question of how much this is going to cost came up. How about, before wasting our public officials' time, you ask yourself this: what's more important, money or lives? Because that's the only two forms of payment the icky takes. How long is this going to take? Well, can't answer that, but what I can say is that until people start doing their part and respect these guidelines, we're stuck. There are multiple stories from across the world of people purposely coughing on others. Asshole conservative leader Andrew Scheer's forcing a physical sitting of the Senate and House when there are a great many computer-based options that are not only safe, they would save money. And people having screaming domestic disputes in their driveway, not only forcing the entire neighborhood to hear it, they did it in front of children. My outside time is taken in my backyard because I know there are people who don't have yards. So I'm one less person anyone needs to physically distance from. Just to see the street and think about my lovely wife, I sit in her comfy chair in the front window sometimes. From there, I have repeatedly seen cars pull up and park in the street, and people get out not carrying groceries, not carrying prepared food, not carrying anything, and not in the personal protective equipment they would have to be wearing if they were some sort of a care worker. I've also heard of people going out to the shops on a near daily basis. None of that, well, except for the me sitting inside part, is acceptable. There is no excuse, and the pandemic will not end until long after this behavior does. What went wrong with your plan? Again, the icky is a new thing, and there is no way to actually plan for something you don't know is going to happen and don't fully understand. There is a fluid concept as to how to deal with these sorts of things which might happen, which is what is needed because viruses don't call ahead and tell us how they work and how to defeat them. In the multi-minister's address, there were all these questions about which of the models reflects what is happening and wanting explanations and referring to these things as if they were real. They're not fucking real! In fact, as far as the general public is concerned, you'd be better off with a magic 8-ball. The officials have already spent more than enough time explaining what models are and how they sort of, kind of, but don't really work, which makes me wonder if journalists' memories get erased every night when they go to bed. And a couple of the questions even contain the phrases, I know you can't tell the future, and I know you don't have a crystal ball, but... Really? How do you know they can't tell the future? Oh yeah, they tell you multiple times, every day. So why are you asking for them to make predictions based on predictions? Because it's a trap. Forcing the officials into situations where they make predictions just gives the journalists the chance to say later, well, you said this number, but that's not what happened. Why? And this just perpetuates the cycle of wasting everybody's time. Now, one of the worst forms of modeling is polls. That's why when everyone started talking about a poll that said 25% of Canadians aren't following the rules, I went looking for it. And I found exactly what I expected. Well, it's a bit of a small hair to split, but the report did say 26%. As I read through the report, though, I found it was making all these other grand claims, like specific numbers of specific things in specific provinces. But when you get to the bottom, the weasel pops. All of these grand claims are based on online interviews with 1,006 people. You just plain can't gauge what 37 million people are doing or thinking by talking to 1,000 of them. I think polls that make these kinds of extrapolations are one of the worst forms of misinformation. And speaking of polls, some international news. Drive through Jesus. What? No, I'm not suggesting people get in a car and drive. Look, just listen. I'm almost done, okay? So, according to Reuters, Polish Roman Catholic priest Father Mitusz Kilarski, I hope I got that close at least, has put a chair in the church parking lot, donned a mask, and is having people drive up for confessions. He was quoted as saying, from the safety of their car, they can take care of their soul while protecting their body from germs in this special time. And in this special time, I think all religions need to heed his example. Physical distancing is a necessity for us all. Now, folks, the need for physical distancing just can't be stressed enough. Personally, the last time I went out in public was last Friday. At present, I'm very low on softener salt and dishwasher detergent, and there are several foods I'd like to have around. But my next public outing won't happen until my short supply of toothpaste runs out, because that's a necessity. And when it does, I'll be getting all those things I mentioned, plus anything else I can think of, because I want to come home and stay here for another 2 weeks. It's not that I'm afraid of catching the icky as much as I am afraid of thinking that I may have helped spread it. What if someone catches it from me? What if they get hospitalized? What if they die? I don't want that on my conscience, and nobody else should either. So stay the fuck away from each other and wash everything. A lot. Oh, no. No, Matthew, I'm not dancing tonight.